All it takes nowadays to spark up an online fight is to merely have an opinion. One opinion will cause many to spiral into a pit hole of anger where no one dialogues, only insults the person who has the unpopular or even the popular opinion regarding the latest trends in comic books, movies, or pulp culture. It makes sense given the circumstance. After all, acting tough behind the protective wall of the black mirror we all own and use on a daily basis makes it easy for anyone to jump right into a tirade of insults and threats. Again, just for having an opinion that they may disagree with. I decided to go against that notion. I've decided to start a video series where we discuss the hot topic issues within the comic book industry and pulp culture and provide you with another perspective. One of logic, reason, with just plain old dialogue between two people who have different opinions. My co-host and I will discuss the pop culture topics at hand in a fun, engaging, and respectable manner. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Hello. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Julius Freeman, and with me, as always, is
Kyle.
Never gets old.
Yeah. I hope not.
Welcome back.
Otherwise,
Welcome back.
We'll be here.
Yeah, welcome back. It's been a crazy week all across the board. It seems to be getting crazier and crazier, Kyle. I just don't understand. The whole place is just going bananas. Ever since Trump got inaugurated and he started signing all these executive orders. And woo, what a week.
What a week.
Yeah, not just for comics, but for the world, especially in this country, in our country. But wow, yeah. Well, this is not a political show, so we're not going to talk about that.
Right.
We're going to talk
about comic books.
Yeah, we're going to talk about comic books, a staple, a small one at that, of Americana. This last week wasn't that much in terms of news, but we are going to talk about a tweet that I saw earlier this week that pretty much sparked the topic of tonight's show. And yeah, Kyle and I are gonna go read through it, and then we're going to break down what the person said, and then give our thoughts as to what can be done or maybe not be done according to this person's observation of the current state of the industry. But before we get into that, Kyle, how was your week, man? What'd you pick up this week?
All right, well, let's see. This week, a little bit of a slow week. I didn't get anything like particularly new out of like back bins or anything like that. There's going to be a comic book convention next Saturday. I'm looking forward to going to that because Jim Starlin's going to be there. Howard Chaykin's going to be there.
Very nice.
And so I'm going to go and get my Infinity Gauntlet #1 signed by Jim Starlin. So I'm excited to see get that.
You're all excited. You're like, yes, Jim Starlin's $20 signature.
Well, the thing, yes, probably. But I'm going to be trying to find another copy of the Infinity Gauntlet as well. Get that one signed as well. And then use that one and sell it eventually down the line for the next book. Or to pay myself back from all the signatures I buy.
Right.
But in terms of the new comic books that I picked up this week, we have your favorite character, Mr. Helverine.
Yeah.
2.
It's not. Don't say it like that. Like I hate the character. I hate the name. It's a stupid name. It's always going to be stupid for me. And I get that people are fans of the book, and I'm sure the book is great. I don't doubt it. Yeah. I just don't like the title, man. The title is dumb to me. I felt they could have done a better job coming up with a better title for that. But yeah, Helverine number what number is that?
Was that number 2?
Number 2.
And then from Skybound, we've got Void Rivals number 16.
Nice. That book has been hitting. That from what I hear.
Yeah, and G.I. Joe, Real American Hero.
America.
Let's see. Then we've got the Ultimates and the Absolutes with Ultimate Spider-Man and Absolute Wonder Woman.
Okay, nice.
Both are kind of whatever
No,
so far.
oh no.
Um,
Say that a major corporate-owned comic book property is meh?
yeah, imagine that.
There you come.
Terminator.
Oh, nice. I love that cover.
Oh yeah, it's cool. This is Terminator if he was in the Cold War. I don't know if you kn-
Ah,
these stories are like one-shot stories that have been following Terminators throughout decades and different wars.
I dig that.
Uh
I dig that.
because and they're trying to target John Connor's military leaders in the future, not just
Right.
John Connor.
Which is
So,
a great premise, by the way.
yeah.
Fantastic.
I got let's see. This one was just one because it was seems really weird, but I wanted to see what it was. It's by J. Michael Straczynski, Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon.
Okay. All right.
I mean fun pairings like these are what I live for. It's comic books. So it's like,
Right.
okay, why not?
Yeah.
Rocket Raccoon and Doctor Doom.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know?
Right.
And
Yeah,
then
totally.
this one I got just because it's a cool cover. It's a DC horror Green Lantern with him as like a mummy zombie
Oh,
or
that's pretty
something or
cool.
other.
That's cool.
So yeah, those were my pickups this week.
Very nice. Very nice. How was the comic shop when you went on Wednesday? Did you go?
Let's see. I went and it was about normal.
Yeah.
Just a handful of people that were there, but I come like right before they close.
Yeah. Right.
And I ask them, and they say that they're usually always busy on New Comic Book Day. So
Yeah, as expected. But my question is, how busy were they really?
well, yeah.
I'm excited for next week because Rome Eternal issue 2 finally comes out. It took a while for them to get issue 2 out, but I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm actually gonna pick up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, written by Jason Aaron and drawn by Juan Ferraya, I believe that's his name. If I'm not
Raya, yeah, it's something
Ferraya,
like that.
apologies if I mispronounced it, but I'm just picking that one up not because of Jason Aaron writing. I'm not really a big fan of Jason Aaron. He's like hit or miss for me, but the artist involved in this new storyline, I follow him on X and he is phenomenal. Like absolutely phenomenal. I mean that picture won't do it justice.
I know it's on a phone, so I was just trying to pull it up because that's the only thing I have.
Right,
It's not out yet.
if you can try to find actually I could do it right now. Hold on, give me
You
a
can
second.
do it. Anyway, it's he's picking up in the series. It's number 6 that's going to be coming out. This is the new Teenage Mutant Ninja. Well, man, I just butchered.
Ooh, say that
Yeah.
fast 5 times.
I know Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles run. I was trying to combine. I was trying to do TMNT and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the same time. But
So here it is. Feast your
there it
eyes
is.
on this. I mean, woo! Woo!
Yeah,
Look at that.
and the blade is
The
like
blade as the street. I mean, talk about a sweet, sweet cover here.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Exactly, Justin. Very nice. Very nice. And that's the only reason why I'm picking it up. I grew up watching Turtles as a kid, the cartoon series. I never really picked up the comic book. And so, I never really cared for it because I was spoiled, watching the cartoon. I'd rather watch the cartoon than read the comic book kind of deal.
yeah.
But when I saw this guy's artwork, drawing the turtles this way, it has a little bit of that old flavor that I loved when I was growing up watching the cartoons. And on top of that, just take a look at this damn cover. It's fantastic.
I know.
And he was showing teasers on his Twitter account of like the pages he's been drawing, the panel sequences, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. Like I don't care. I don't care if Jason Aaron's writing it. Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna enjoy, even if the story is subpar or okay or average. I'm still gonna enjoy it just for the art alone because look at this, man. Look at this.
So like it's a good place to be jumping in at this point because I have been reading. This is issue number 6.
Right.
I've been reading the other 5 issues, and basically the first 4 issues are just are focused on each turtle, and I guess they had all split off and done their own thing, and so each issue is about them coming back together because the Foot Clan is around.
Right.
And then the 5th issue was with Casey Jones coming back. So this issue is where they're all supposed to be back and they're all together. So this is a great jumping on point if you do want to go and pick it up.
I mean, look at this. Look at this.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you turn this book down? I can't zoom in anymore.
So you have to go out there and get it right now.
Yeah.
Next week.
Next week. Pick it up. So on to the subject at hand. I think it was, I don't know what, let me see if there's a date here. No, there's no date here. But Neon from Clownfish TV posted on his account this right here. Now he wrote, the sad truth is that the American comic book industry is geriatric. For those who don't know, it's old. Just, FYI.
Yeah. Well,
and all across the board, according to him, all across the board, the creators, the store owners, and the readers. Almost all of them are older. There's no next generation. They fled to manga and video games. Now it's just about managing the decline, like the Rust Belt. I think that Marvel and DC are just starting to figure out their actual audience and adjusting accordingly, but it's about quality of life at this point. That doesn't mean we can't have a few last hurrahs, though, right? Now, of course, this, a post like this will always cause, controversy, will always cause people to come out and either attack, add to the conversation, or just straight up just call them, deny,
Yeah.
just deny it. Like, no, that's no, comic books are great. They're still healthy. But I couldn't help but just notice that he was right. He is right. Because when I go to the shops and I look at the people looking at the new books, when I do go in, be it on a Wednesday or sometimes when I feel like it, a Saturday or Sunday, just for the heck of it. And I don't see kids looking to bins or looking to the walls. I see people my age who look like me, my age demographic, looking through books and picking them up. And so, my question to you, Kyle, and also not just to you, but the people listening, watching the show and in the chat, I can't help but agree with Neon here. Like I say what you will about Neon. I know some people are not a fan of his. I don't care either way. I'm objective about it because everyone. I'm in the school of thought that everyone's entitled to their opinion. And depending on how informed they are, their opinion can, mean nothing, or their opinion can have some weight to it, depending on how deep their knowledge goes about the subject at hand. And Neon is pretty knowledgeable. I think he was a shop owner at one point in his life.
I believe so.
Yeah,
I think he was a shop owner. And
okay, so he knows a thing or two about running a comic book business. So he understands. He has a inside knowledge on it. So you got to take his opinion with some weight.
I think he also mentioned that he was also an artist as well for some of the Disney comic books.
Okay, well there you go. There you go. So not only was he a comic shop owner, he also was part of the industry. He actually worked in the industry. So say what you will about the individual, but when someone has a good point, you got to give them the point. Yeah. And so. My biggest thing was they fled to manga and video games. Now, I remember when I took my...
Oh, you did? Well, okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Because you didn't even... You're saying you were going to ask me the question, and I thought you were going to ask you about my opinion, and then you just went switched. I'm like,
well, I was going to come back to you. I was going to chase a rabbit for a second. I was going to come back to you.
All right. You can go. Chase a rabbit.
So, I remember years ago, I took my nephew, who was 8 at the time. He's not 8 anymore. He's almost freaking, he's a 16 now, I think. And I wanted to convert, my nephew to be a comic book reader. So I took him to the comic shop and I told him, pick whatever you want. Anything, you just can't go over $30. That's what I told him. You can't go over $30, but you could pick whatever you want. A toy, look at the books, whatever. Just take your time. And I was there, checking out the bins. I was, looking for some old back issues, and he took his time. He was looking around the wall. He was, looking around. And after about maybe a half hour of him just looking around, kind of deciding, he picked out 2 books. One was One Piece, the manga. And then 2 was Hellspawn. Now, of course, I bought the books from him and, started taking them home. And I asked him, well, why'd you pick up, One Piece? And I didn't know what One Piece at the time was. So I asked him, what is this? He's, oh, it's about pirates. It's about pirates and looking for this guy's treasure who buried it. And he they're trying to find this guy's treasure. And it's really, really fun. It's a really fun story, he told me. And so I really like it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And, of course, I'm not a manga guy, but I was surprised that he chose that. And then so when I asked him, well, what about Hellspawn? Why'd you pick Hellspawn? And he told me pretty much what everyone, I think, can agree with, who started collecting comics or got into comics, which was the art was great. He's like, the art looks cool.
Yeah.
He didn't know anything about Todd McFarlane. He doesn't know anything about Spawn. He just, went to the wall, right, of New Arrivals, and he saw Hellspawn, and he picked that one up. He's like, I just really like the artwork. It's really cool. So that's what's kind of, for me, my own observation is what's lost. But I'll get into that more. But Kyle, now I direct my question to you. Are we too late? Are we too late? Is it too late to get the young? How do we lose them? How can we get them back? And what brought you to the game of reading comics?
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack, because I say that in my going to conventions and all that stuff, I will agree that pretty much every single shop owner or vendor that I come across is of the older variety.
Yeah.
There really isn't many shop owners or vendors that I see at conventions that are on the younger side, even, like middle age. Like some of them are middle age, but most of them are in their like retirement years type age.
Yeah.
And so I will agree in that point that, yeah, definitely the creator or the the vendors and store owners. Now, there are some store owners that aren't that way, and they hire younger people as well. So there's that aspect. And like our local comic book shop has some younger people there, but I don't see any kids that are coming in ever at all.
Yeah, same here.
And I talked to the shop owner. I asked him about that, and he said, yeah, we do get some kids every now and again if they have like a class trip or something like that somewhere around here. And so they come in, and basically all they go for, though, is the dollar bin books.
And of course,
they don't really pick up the wall books. So that's also, hurting everything, because, and I tried, like you said, with your nephew, with my nephew, my littlest nephew, he only thing he cares about was Spider-Man, and specifically Venom. And so I picked up a reprinted ASM 300 for him so that he could, and it was like, oh yeah, it's the first Venom. You should like this. And so I gave it to him, and he liked it. He read it, but he has never said anything about comics ever since. He never really cared about it.
Yeah.
He just kind of like, has it. And he's like, yeah, I liked it. Okay.
But no. Oh, do you have any more? Is there any more?
Right.
I want to read. I want to keep reading, but nothing like that, huh?
Nothing like that. And so I think that, with these creators and the readers and stuff like that, like, I mean, like Benjamin says in the chat that yes, there are some out there, but and they do exist. It's sort of few and far between.
Yeah, that's the question. How many of them do exist?
I will say, go ahead.
I was going to say, and if it is it enough to keep the industry going? Is the question. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
I will say though that there are things like they mentioned in the post that doesn't mean that there can't be some last hurrahs or something like that.
Yeah,
But there are things that I'm noticing that are bringing people, at least, people back into comic book shops. And one of them is that Marvel Rivals video game.
right. Yes, I
I've
heard
been
about
hearing
that.
a lot of stories and a lot of new, articles I've been reading of people playing the game, them releasing a new skin in the game of some character, or a new character, and then people are going to actually the comic book store to pick up those books. And actually they did something where the comic book industry is actually putting out, comic books and covers of the Marvel Rivals characters on the actual cover. So it's like they're doing a better job than the movies did when
Yeah,
they were coming out, of having books that are relevant to what people want in the
right.
actual shop.
Yeah, that was my main issue, my main gripe with Hollywood owning the rights to the movie rights to these comic book characters, is that they never created a funnel system. I like the fact that Marvel Rivals has done that. They built a funnel system where, okay, this is a video game. We're going to try to make this video game the best as possible to lure video gamers, gamers who
Yeah.
don't read comics, but they like the look of it. It looks fun, and so they bought it, and now they want the lore. I need
Yeah.
to know about this lore. Like, what is this all about? Who is this character, and why does this character look so cool?
And
I want to know more about this character.
video game people love lore, and they love,
They sure do.
going and diving deep into everything that's happens within that character or that
Right.
history.
And so it was important that they built a funnel system, and Hollywood never built a funnel system ever. And they could have if they wanted to, but they're so high and mighty, they're so smug in their own, fart cloud up there in Hollywood, that they refuse to do that, because they always looked at comic book shops as beneath them, with the exception of, obviously, a few exceptions like Samuel L. Jackson, I believe, is what the most famous one of all of them, who actually goes to comic shops and actually buys
Well,
comic books and reads them.
and Nicolas Cage.
Oh, well, yeah, but he wasn't part of the MCU. Is my point.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know, Ghost Rider. Was that technically MCU? I wasn't
No,
really
no,
close.
it was not. It was not. It was
Yeah.
its own thing. I'm talking about the MCU. I'm talking about what made
Yeah.
those characters mainstream. I'm talking about that. And so they lost a whole generation of readers who did go to the shops, but Jane Foster was Thor at the time.
Right.
Ironheart was Iron Man at the time. So you had all these kids going, "Wait, I wanted Tony Stark, Iron Man. What is this? Okay, well, I guess
Yeah.
I don't want this."
Yeah.
And that played a huge factor in not having a new generation of readers at the number that's healthy. Maybe there's a few, like you were the exception. Obviously, you converted into a comic book reader because of the movies. However, the other factor in the unfortunate circumstance of the comic book shops being decentralized, because there's no really big chains. There's a few in the East Coast, but they're not really national chain. They're a more regional chain. Is that you sometimes, like you said, the shop owners are a little older, and they might be
Yeah.
a little onery, and may not want to be very friendly to
Right.
kids and new readers, because they're mad, they're pissed off, whatever the case may be. But I remember you told me, you shared the story with me earlier this week about how you did attempt to go to a comic shop years before you went again,
Yeah.
and you were
I'll tell.
turned off by it because of
Yeah.
what happened. Well, you share that tale.
I'll tell the story. So yeah, basically this was, I want to say, back in 2011, 2012 or something like that. I was around 12 years old or so, and the Flash TV show was on, and I was really liking the CW. It was the CW
Yeah,
Flash,
yeah,
and it was really good. And I was really enjoying it, and so I wanted to go and pick up some Flash books, and so I went over to my local comic shop at the time. It's no longer there anymore, probably because of this reason. But I went there, and thinking back on it, it's like, yeah, it was a pretty nice store. They had a lot of selection, a lot of
Yeah,
back
they
bins
did.
and
They
stuff
did. I
like
went to
that.
that shop a few times.
And so I was kind of, just looking around, it was empty. Nobody was there. I was the only one. It was just me and this proprietor. It was some like lady. I don't know how you've seen her before. How old was she? You wanna say?
I want to say maybe she was in her 20s, maybe mid-20s. She was a gothic. She was a
Yeah.
gothic girl. So she had the dark hair, the makeup, all that stuff, so
Anyway, so I'm like, not really knowing, and so she asked, "Well, is it something you're looking for?" I'm like, "Yeah, Flash books." I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for because,
yeah.
I just want Flash.
Yeah.
And so they're like, and basically I just remember saying, "Oh yeah, it's over there somewhere in the middle, of that row." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So then I go I go over there, and I got the whole selection there, and then it's just like, okay, you got Flash Rebirth, Flash this, Flash this, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to look at. What am I
Yeah.
supposed to pick up? Where am I starting? Are these all in the same,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
series? I'll just pick this one, this one, this one because they look cool. And so, and then I went and checked out. And she barely said anything to me, and then I never went there again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
That's another, I think, another factor that goes unnoticed, I think, by a lot of people. People always focus on the content that's being put out by the major publishers, which is fair, because that did drive out a lot of readers who were once into the books but now no longer are, because as Benjamin said here, that the problem is the current quality of the books. You had the movies, not the games, but if kids go pick up a book, they see 18 pages of talking heads,
yeah,
not much to get excited. And that exactly right, because I had the total opposite of your experience, Kyle. The first time I walked into a shop,
yeah,
they were friendly. The employees were relatively young; they were in their 20s, but they were comic book geeks. They were dudes,
yeah.
And when I got in there, of course, it was like a kid in a candy store. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. It was like Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. Like, wow, look at all this color. This is
Everything turned to
amazing.
color.
Yeah. And first thing they tell me is like, hey, can I help you with anything? Oh, I'm just kind of looking around. I was, okay, well, you let me know if you have any questions. Okay, the new comic books are on the wall here. This is DC. Over there is Marvel, so that's all the Spider-Man stuff. X-Men, and then the DC is all the Superman, Batman stuff. So go ahead and look around. Take your time. If you have any questions, you let me know.
Yeah,
that was it. And the other great thing about back then too, because comic books were also accessible financially. They were $1.25
right.
sometimes
Yeah,
at the most, or $1.50 even. And so as I went to the shop again and again, and they started to remember me, and they started to see my habits as to what books I was buying. Comic shop owners. I don't know. I can't speak on all the comic shop owners because again, I only been to my local area, comic shop. And I remember at some point as I started to buy more and more, they would tell me, "Hey, I noticed you like this. If you really like this book, you'll like you like these too." And they'll go over there to the other side and they'll put me back 2 or 3 books of a different series.
yeah,
And he'll explain to me, okay, this one's about this one, about a guy who hunts, vampires at night, whatever. And this one's about a guy who goes to space and hunts, evil aliens, whatever the case may be. And then, of course, they're $1,
right.
and I had extra cow. Okay, fine, I'll take them. And that's what made it exciting. That's what cultivated the culture of that comic book culture, and it's kind of gone today. Because it like I said, like you said, you had the experience of walking in and they're over there somewhere,
It's
whatever.
a community. This is a
Exactly.
community.
It used to be a
and
community.
It's supposed to be a community, and yet everybody, in those instances, were so standoffish. that,
Yeah.
nobody and the reason why you kept coming back was because he was wanting to talk to you. He was
Yeah.
interested in what you wanted to know. And that's what happened the second time, when I actually go to the comic book shop again, the one that's like now my best friend, who's the comic shop owner. He sat me down. He told me, okay, so you like Green Lantern. Here's what you should read with Green Lantern. Here's what bronze, Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age means.
There you go.
Here's what the timelines are supposed to be about. Here you can any of these, Green Lantern books. I know you love Green Lantern, so pretty much any of the Green Lantern books that you pick out is going to be $2 for you, no matter what. And so it's like, yeah, it's like great. Of course, I want to keep on coming
Yeah,
back
of course.
because
Yeah.
you're just a wealth of knowledge, and you're wanting to tell me. And it was just like the whole time I was there, it's just he wanted to explain to me everything because he was happy about comic books as well. So I think, you know, not just because they're older means that they're all grumpy and
Right.
angry and
Right.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. There's still a lot of comic shop owners that do care and they do want to make things fun and make people happy and bring people into comics.
And that's the key word right there. Care.
Yeah.
That's what's been kind of stripped away from the new generation of creators who came in and kind of looked down on comic shop owners. I mean, you remember that viral video of that shop owner who talked about how, well, we don't want to see your self insert character into our characters. We want to see Batman. We want to see Punisher. And did we lose you, Kyle?
No, I'm here.
Yeah.
I just had to sneeze, and I didn't want everybody to see me on the camera.
I thought he lost you.
Nah.
And remember what happened after that? He was attacked by the pros. Called fat. Called, oh, look, I can smell the salami breath on him by watching this video. That kind of stuff. Instead of going, you know what? He's right. He's right. Like we gotta like think about what we're presenting to our readers, but instead they attack the guy. So that to me showed me that the majority of the comic book creators today, they kind of see the comic shop as like an old relic that doesn't deserve to live anymore. They want their books in Barnes and Noble. They want their books in the magazines. They want to be in the New York Times bestseller list. And it's like, I get that part, my ego gets that. You want the notoriety, you want the accolades, you want your peers who are outside the comic book industry to look at you, be like, wow, man, you're a fantastic writer. You made it to the New York Times bestseller. But the fact is, it's like, well, you're selling a different product.
It's not a big hard step to get to, though.
Yeah, exactly. And you're selling to a whole different crowd. And that's what's been hurting the industry as a whole is the care. The care is no longer there anymore. It's become kind of this self-centered greed of sorts.
Yeah.
This greed of like notoriety. I want to, my name is on a Marvel book. What about you? Instead of going, I want to write the best comic book and I want to give you guys the best possible entertaining comic book I can give you.
Yeah.
And that shows in the quality of work, at least for me. I'm only speaking for myself now. I can see it when I read it in the modern comic book. I can see the writer, the smugness of some of the writers that I read for, from books from DC and Marvel. There are exceptions, obviously, but they shouldn't be the exception. The exceptional writer should always be like the rule, right? When it comes to this thing, because that helps brings readers in. It's good business for the shop owner, and now the shop owner is happy because they're getting business, and they want to cultivate and get new readers in. So now that brings me to the next question: how do you think we can bring new readers in? And I'm not just talking about the story quality. I mean, that's obvious.
Yeah.
But how can we regain readers or gain new readers who are addicted to the video games, to manga, to social media? How can we get them back, or how can we convert them? Not back, but how can we convert them so they could want to come to the shop every Wednesday?
I think there are strides that they're making in that regard that I have been noticing. Like one of the things that I saw, whether or not it's a good movie or not, the Captain America Brave New World that's coming out,
All right.
they are doing a tie-in, not tie-in, but a Captain America versus Red Hulk book
All
that
right.
is coming out at the same time as this. So at least Marvel, from that aspect, is putting out books that are going to be related to what's coming out in the movies. So there's that. I think that, you know, some other ways of getting people into comic books, like we have we talked about the video game
Right.
for, Marvel Rivals and stuff like that. But another thing that I noticed that was very popular at the end of last year, that I think is going to become even more popular this coming year, is these comic book packs that
Right.
was
Yeah.
introduced. I don't know if you know, it was pretty much like the end of last year, Whatnot, which was some live stream auction type uh, app, sent out these comic book packs of variant covers of the comic books that had just been released earlier that year, which was like X-Men and Spider-Man and all that stuff. And it was different covers with different foil cover variants that they had. And it was like a blind bag that you open up, and it was like, oh, I got the rare red one or the rare gold one.
Okay.
And, they were given out for free to sellers on Whatnot. Like, you had to have a certain number of followers. I don't know. I don't have the app, but you
Okay.
had to be at least a higher up in the app or something like that to get these. And so the ones that are rare go for a lot of money, and the packs themselves unopened go for like $300 or something like that. And so those are targeting specifically the people who enjoy the Pokemon packs,
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
because
Okay.
that's also a really big thing that's been going on, is that Pokemon has skyrocketed, and everybody wants Pokemon to open up the packs live and see, oh, I pulled Charizard or,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I feel like they're trying to capitalize on those type of people, bring them into comic books. And we're starting to see that where some independent creators are making their own packs as well. So I think maybe it's possible that eventually, like later down the line, maybe Marvel or DC will start adopting that as well, and we'll see trading packs of comic books.
I mean, that's great in terms of you know having the shops gain some kind of financial incentive. Like if I do this, then I can stay in business. I can keep the lights on.
Yeah.
And keep my shop open to the public, which is great. But for me, it's more than that. Like that's a collector's market.
Yeah. Well,
There's
and
like
I
and
yeah, that's it.
I get it. I get it. It's the one that's making the most money right now, and I totally
Yeah.
understand that. But for me, it's all about the story. Like the stories are what kept me coming back to the shop every week. It wasn't. I mean, the art was obviously a factor, a major factor in that. But the stories kept me coming back to want to read the rest of it. Now, of course, back in the 90s when I was growing up, the artwork was exceptional all across the board. Like great artists had to compete with one another because they were all, vying for the attention of the readers who were like, wow, this is amazing, but this was amazing too, and this one too, and this book here too. And so everyone had their own stake on trying to get reader fans to read their book because their artwork was just as phenomenal as the next guy.
Right.
Now that's an exception now. Now when you have an announcement of Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee doing another Batman book, that's going to be an exceptional book because it's Jim Lee. Same thing with like Rob Liefeld doing Deadpool, Youngblood currently, and then you had Silvestri who came back to Batman, and those are exceptional artists, but I feel like there's not many exceptional artists today who are pretty much stirring up excitement for books.
Yeah.
Juan Ferraya, for me, that should be stirring up excitement if you're a Ninja Turtles fan. But even if you're not a Ninja Turtles fan, that should be enough to be like it did with me. Like I told you, I was really gushing over his art, going, I'm going to pick this book up, even though I'm not a Ninja Turtle fan, a reader. And so that's what we need more of, so that we get, maybe that will cause, because anything that's really great, it always causes people to recommend it to others. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, dude, you got to read this. I know you don't like comic books, but you have to read this. You would dig this. And nowadays, it's kind of like embarrassing to like show off a book to a friend of yours who are going to look at it and be like, you think this is good? And for the most part, they're not good.
Well, I think go ahead.
I was going to say, Justin said, do you think that was a wake-up call to some pros when they bullied that owner? They got called out. I thought, yeah, totally, Justin. That was warranted when they got called out, because I was surprised. I was shocked when I saw the responses that this guy was getting, who didn't really attack anybody personally. He just kind of said, look, we don't want self-inserted, characters. We want the characters that we grew up liking to be in the story, and they took offense to it because there's truth in that. You always, whenever you insult someone by telling them the truth, that means that they're doing it.
Yeah.
They're proud of it too, which is why they reacted that way, instead of going, you know what, he has a point. Maybe we should start to step back and really think about the characters we write for a living and for the mainstream. But go ahead, Kyle. What were you going to say before I interrupted you?
I was going to say just another big point too that has really turned people away from comic books is that, like we keep on bringing up, is that people got priced out.
Yeah, that's another factor too. For sure.
My oldest nephew, he was into comic books. He loves Daredevil, and he says that he would love to continue to read Daredevil, but he just can't pay for them.
$5, man. $5 for 22 pages, maybe sometimes 28 pages for a story. And that's and I don't know what the deal is, honestly. I know printing costs have gone up after COVID, but I mean, there's got to be something where.
Do you think that maybe because I understand that it is a way for the comic shop owners to get money, but like having 10 plus variant covers per issue, has been causing all that money that could have been gone into like one variant and then just a better story and art for the issue itself.
Yeah, I would say so, but for a better story, you need to find a better writer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like if they had saved the money from, instead of paying all the different variant cover artists, saved all that money, bought a really good writer and a really good artist to work on a book.
Yeah, that could definitely offset it back to a semblance of normalcy. But writers, there's in my opinion, there's just too many writers. And I'm not saying there's a bad thing. When I mean by too many writers, I'm talking about there's a whole bunch of great writers. It's just a matter of the editorial. What makes a great editor, that I think it's become a lost art, is being able to recognize the writer's strengths on, like, this guy writes really good dialogue, so maybe I'll have him write Spider-Man because Spider-Man's really witty. Yeah. This writer writes really good fantasy, so I might get him to get Thor to do Thor and really bring something new to the table. This guy likes uber violence. Maybe he'd be a good Punisher or Deadpool, that kind of thing. And I feel like this day and age, the editorial from both companies, they only hire people because they're either their friends, or they have, as a friend of a friend, they're doing them a favor, or they're ideologically aligned, which is now it's become extremely apparent. If you can't see that now, then I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. But that's the reality that I've been noticing myself, is that that's pretty much how you get work today. Back then, when I tried to break in the early 2000s, there's 3 ways to break in, which is one was networking. You knew someone who knew someone who knew someone, and they would put in a good word for you, and that's fair. Networking. There's nothing wrong with networking.
That's
So
a
I'm not
majority of how
don't
people get stuff.
yeah, and that's not I'm not bashing it. That's a good thing. But of course, it's got to be merit based. Does this guy know what he's doing? Does this
Yeah.
artist know what he's doing? And not don't just hire me because you're a friend. You're friends with my friend. The networking part, it should be just, hey, I'm gonna open the door for you, and then after that, it's up to you, man. Like
Yeah.
I can't help you after that. I'm only gonna get the door open for you. And so, then the second thing was, you go to the con and you wine and dine the editors. So you found out where they drank at, where they hung out at, and you just wine and dine them. Hey, let me buy you a drink, and then you talk to
Yeah.
them, and you hope that they, by the end of the night, when you get them drunk enough, you can tell them, "Well, I'm a writer." Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I got some ideas. I want to run them by you, and then that's one way you could have done it. And the third was you produce your own comic book and you start doing the convention circuits.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll get noticed by people who would recognize you. Like, yeah, I've seen this guy. I've seen this guy in the other con that I was at. Wow, he's hustling his book out. Oh, I'm gonna check him out. And then they will buy a book, check him out, and go, wow, this guy's really good. Maybe he'd be really good again, right? Going back to the whole, he really writes good, action. Maybe he'd be a good action writer for Avengers or Captain America.
And I think going along with that, not just figuring out, okay, yeah, this person would be good for Avengers or Spider-Man or whatever, but also making it so that they keep them on that book and have them go for a long time to build up readership. Because that's what's so frustrating about some of these issues that I read, is that you get a good artist or a good writer on it, and then just 4 issues later, it switches up again.
Yeah. No, you're right. And that's annoying. No, Jules,
Yeah.
you got it all the way with editors now. It's Wine Dine 16. But you're right. That's another factor that turned a lot of readers off of comic books, is the fact that they switched up too much, and you're like, oh, okay, so then it jars you.
Yes.
Right. And it takes you away from the reading experience to want to, and you want to enjoy yourself, right? You're hoping that the artist and the writer keep working together because they're working so well with one another.
Right. You get a good pairing of writer and artist. Don't mess it up. Just let them cook,
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Julius was giving us insider secret to sleep our way. Hey, dude, I'm telling you what I observed when I was, trying to make it in the industry. And I don't know if it's like that now. So don't come at me, bro. I don't know if that happens now. I just know back then, and wine and dine mean, no, you don't end up in their room. You just, you buy them a beer, you finesse them, right? It's like any businessman who wants to get a deal with someone. You finesse them, you wine and dine them.
Yeah.
But another factor too is that I noticed is that it seems that most writers today, again with a few exceptions, they forget who they're writing for. Who are you writing for? What's your demographic? Are you really writing for teens, or are you writing for yourself and you're just writing for, adults? Because kids today, I mean, their attention span is so short because of social media.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I'm surprised there's not many books out there that involve like a little bit of that kind of stuff in the stories. Social media. I mean, there's like elements in it, but it's not they're not interesting enough for me, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
I understand that, but I guess it's kind of hard to do that in a comic book medium, because,
well, I'll give you an example. I'm gonna give this one away for free. When I mean by social media elements, I'm talking like things that are recognizable to young people, but used in a way where it's interesting. So an example would be like, I don't know, it'd be like a storyline of Captain America, right? He has a young fan who asks him, "Are you on Twitter?" or are you on Instagram, whatever? And he gets on it, right? Because why not? Why
Yeah.
not? It's harmless, right? And then all of a sudden he starts getting DMs from a strange account that knows his secrets. And now he has to figure out who it is by, having Tony hack into that account and then finding out, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like that.
Okay.
Not so much like, just showing off Instagram on a panel.
Yeah.
That's boring. I'm talking about something where you utilize that and you integrate it into the plot. That's what I'm talking about.
That'd be good for like we were talking about like what would be a good Punisher story with
Exactly.
Microchip would be the villain, and he's like
Yeah,
as a
exactly.
hacker trying to
And
get, and so
and that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like that
yeah.
kind of thing.
Well,
Oliver, that's true. We did an Instagram live stream in the Cryptonals, and it worked well. It worked brilliantly when you wrote that. It was I don't know if you remember, Kyle. It was the girl who was live streaming. She was doing like a seance, I believe, a seance live on
was that in
Instagram.
the first issue? I think
Yeah,
so. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I remember. It was the
and
beginning. Yeah.
we're seeing the comments in the chat and everything, and then
Yeah.
something happens to her, and that's a prime example of that. It's something like that. Yeah, like that's what I mean. And there's not any of that in the current books, because I think that would cause the young people who love social media to be like, wow, yeah, that's pretty scary, because that can happen. Sometimes we do get random DMs and they're like phishing links, right? You click on the phishing link and your phone is hacked and now you're screwed. You're out of your account. But yeah, and
You're
that's another
saying
thing.
that you were talking about how when it's some of the other books that I picked up, was one of them was the Hell Hunters, which was all the Marvel characters in World War II, and how you're saying that there's been a lot of World War II type books that have been coming out recently, and that like
It's so boring, dude. It's like, come on, guys. Like, I get it. It's the Great American War, but let it go. Let it go. Like, why? Why are we still doing this? The whole Nazi thing too is getting tiresome. It's like, why can't we come up with something new here? Something unique. Something that will get at least the young minds interested.
Yeah.
Justin says they also don't understand who they think they are writing for. They don't understand kids. They just know the things they like, i.e., TikTok, YouTube, internet gas. What's internet gas?
I don't know.
What is internet gas, guys?
You sound like you sound like some like parent that's like,
I know. Like, what is that?
YouTube?
I don't understand what the I like this. Benjamin says Black Widow trying to slide into Cap's DMs. Oh, here we go. Oli has the right idea here. Leaked X DMs that put in jeopardy the heroes or something. Yeah, there you go. Something like that. And because when I look at the old back issues, and I have to remind myself when I read those old Captain America books that I've been picking up that are written by Mark Grunwald, and I had to like always remind myself, this book was not written for someone my age. This book was written for someone who was 13 years old. Right. 12 years old, 12, 10 to like maybe 15 years old, maybe even to 18. And it still worked. It was still fun, So, but that's gone now. Now everything is all serious and all that stuff. So leaked DMs will lead to World War III. Mark my words. Can you imagine, dude? Putin's DM group with Donald Trump. Hey man, I hear you're talking smack. But I lost my train of thought. But yeah, but that's another factor I think that's been missing, is the fact that they don't know how to write stories to lure the young people back to want to read the comic books.
Well, there's
because
not really
I feel like
many young people that are writing comic books. There's not.
Well,
there's some.
You don't need to do that though.
Yeah.
A well-rounded writer is able to put themselves in the shoes of a teenager. I mean, I could call my nephew up tonight and ask him, "What are you into? What do you like? What do you enjoy?" You know, and that's it. That's all it takes is a little research.
And
You
then
know,
we'll
you don't
leak
have
your
to have
DMs
kids.
on the internet.
What was that?
We'll leak your DMs on the internet then.
Oh man. Yeah.
But I mean, like with writers and artists, though, like it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, with how I mentioned how um, Tom McFarlane and Jim Lee and all of them, they're not getting any younger,
Yeah, they're not. No.
and they're still pretty much the only real big names that draw people to comic books. There really isn't that many like other big names that have come up since the 90s that makes it so, oh, I really want to, that's not already doing like indie stuff. I mean, I would say like Ethan Van Sciver would probably be one, but he's not doing any modern Marvel or DC books
No,
anymore,
he's
doing
done with
his
that.
own
He's
stuff.
he's doing a cyberfrog. Yeah, he's gonna stick with that. Benjamin here is enlightening us with internet gas is a reference to the New Warriors that had Safe Space and Snowflake and those other weird characters. Okay, all right, there you go. So I guess I just missed the reference on that.
Yeah. What's on YouTube?
Yeah. Is Vapu here? I can't see him. Yeah, he was here. He's here, dude. I mean, maybe he bounced. Maybe he like commented and then bounced. People tend to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think let's see what Justin says here, and why I like those things. Escapism, humor, those are the things that pull them to that entertainment. Crenshaw is like, I really want to comment, but I'm gonna drive home. It's all good, man. It's all good, dude. No worries, no worries. Yeah, I those are all the things that I think need to be fixed if they really want young people to read the comics. Of course, the art is also a factor at that. My 8-year-old nephew who got Hellspawn simply for the art indicates that it's still a thing. That's still how you can convert young preteens and teenagers to want to read comic books. I remember when I first saw Spawn, my cousin brought the issue over, not because he read comic books, because he thought the artwork was phenomenal. And he was an artist himself. He was a graffiti artist at that. So he was, climbing up the buildings and, tagging up the walls and stuff with this graffiti art. But he borrowed his friend's Spawn issue because he said, dude, the artwork is amazing in this book.
Right.
And I have no idea what the story is about. I don't care because the artwork is phenomenal. And he studied it. He studied the actual art in that book. And I feel that if you could find, and they're out there, I see them. I see them on Instagram. I see them on X. I see them on Facebook sometimes.
On the YouTube.
And there's a whole pool of phenomenal artists who like if this guy drew Punisher, it'd be fantastic. If this guy drew X-Men, it'd be great. But they don't hire them. For whatever reason, these companies don't have the money.
Like I said, they don't have the money. So they
have the money. I think it's the factor. I think it's the fact that it's because, like I said, there's all the current gatekeepers don't want to hire them because I have a feeling it's because they don't want to outshine their friends. Yeah. Talent does outshine the average artist, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's how sometimes people are just more talented than others, and that's okay too. But I think that a lot of it has to do with professional jealousy. Oh, this person, he draws way too good. I don't want him to show me up, or I don't want him to show up my friend who's currently drawing this book, and I don't want him to lose his job because of this guy's better art skills, or not art skills, storytelling skills as well.
Right.
And again, they're out there, man. I see them all the time, and I'm always surprised why they have not been picked up yet. So, that again, an easy fix to turn trend, but for whatever reason, they're both Marvel and DC. Maybe DC is changing their ways. I have been noticing that they've been doing a bit more stuff that's like, okay, here we go, this is good.
I've been noticing that as well. I've been putting some good artists and good writers together on some good titles. I mean, like Green Lantern with Jeremy Adams, and also Aquaman with Jeremy Adams.
Yeah, and the artwork is looking great too.
Yeah, and then
You know?
also from what we heard, New Gods has been
Yeah,
pretty good as
yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the new stuff in this All In, I think is what it's called,
Yeah, it's all
for
in.
All In, has been pretty well received so far. So hopefully they can continue that, and they don't, they can keep on, putting out some good books. At least put up some good books and Superman books leading up to Superman movie that's coming out later this year.
I'm
Because
sure the Superman comics are gonna go up in not value but in quality wise. They're gonna make sure that the stories are told are like above average and phenomenal. Hopefully that's the case. I'm not sure.
hopefully,
Ben says I read the New Gods 1 and 2 by Ram V, and that has been a great book. The artist Kegel is really good. Yeah, I've been seeing the pages and sequentials for that, and it's like, whoa, dude, this is like superb stuff. So
I
I'm
know.
I'm looking forward to that.
I've been trying to find them. My local comic shop sold out of the issues 1 and 2 that they had, and so still on back order. So I'm trying to find a shop that has them. But I've been
Oh wait,
wanting to try
so
to get
so
them.
so our shop doesn't have them anymore?
No,
They sold
I
out.
checked. Yeah,
Oh man, nice. Well, that's good. That's a good sign. That's a
yeah.
good sign.
But yeah, I think that yes, to an extent, going back to the original posts of it being geriatric,
Yeah.
the comic book industry being geriatric, I
Yes.
think
Yes.
it's more specific where it's like, yes, the comic book industry specifically is somewhat geriatric, but I think comic book characters and the movies and stuff and the games are still popular amongst all
Oh
ages.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
But the issue here is they're not going to the shops.
right.
They're
I mean,
they're not going to the shops. They're not talking about comics.
yeah,
They may be talking about the art. They may be talking about the collectors, like the collectability of it, but never have I heard the story. Oh, this storyline was fantastic, man. This is what got
yeah.
me into the character. Or this is what got me into the book. That kind of stuff. That's like few and far between now.
And I
Where back
think,
then it
yeah,
was almost every other storyline was it's must read. You have to read this. It's really good.
right. And I think that, some of the things that they are doing, like with the Marvel
Yeah,
Rivals
Justin.
stuff and all that stuff, it's a short-term win because I don't foresee the people who are going from Marvel Rivals buying the comic books are actually really reading the books and wanting the books. They're
Yeah.
just wanting the cover,
Yeah, the commodity, right?
character.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
commodity of it.
So I'm not assuming that they're not going to keep on coming back once the game's over and the next game comes around.
Well, they would if the stories were quality.
Yeah, but I
If
don't even
if
think that they. I don't know personally. I don't know what if they are reading or not. But I would say
yeah.
if I'm more into video games, I mean, besides the lore aspect of it, of people wanting to do that and read the books, but I don't see a majority of them
Okay.
reading
Well,
it.
let me rephrase that then. Maybe not so much the story because that does come at the end. Unfortunately, regarding looking through the book, the
Yeah,
artwork's got to be eye popping and alluring enough for them to be like, "Hey, this is pretty good. This looks pretty good. I actually now I want to read this."
yeah,
And if the art is phenomenal, yeah, I think that you can convert a lot of people to want to read the book, especially after they first look at the artwork because that's like a that's
that's step
that
one.
that's step one. Yeah, step one is always look through the art, and if the art is like whoa, eye popping, dynamic, then you're gonna want to read what's going on
Yeah,
because of how intense the art looks or how great the art looks.
or if it's just talking heads.
then you lose them.
I mean, you have the best artist ever, but if he's
Yeah.
just drawing talking heads,
Yeah.
there's no point.
Yeah, right, exactly. So yeah, that's pretty much Neon again, a lot of people don't like the guy, and that's fine. You don't have to like the guy. But that was a good point. He had a great point. And it was a very good observation because I have noticed it myself when I go to the comic shop. Now, of course, just because my comic shop doesn't have the kids doesn't mean that every other comic shop there in the rest of the country doesn't have kids. There's probably a
Right.
few that have, oh, heck, I get kids here all the time. Yeah, but how many of that for the rest of the stores that are still open in the country?
Yeah.
You know, yours maybe that's great that you have kids coming in because you're gonna have a whole generation of kids in your area buying books. But what about the kids in the rest of the country? You know, how many are converting them to readers? And that's the question there. Oli says the artwork's got to look like the game or similar for these kids to keep coming back to shops. Yeah, 100%. And yes, just like Joe Mad on the book. Yeah, dude, get Joe Mad. He'll do it. But he takes forever from what I hear. That's it for me, man. You got any other thoughts about what Neon said? And
I don't
again,
think so.
good points.
I think we covered it. I think we covered a lot of interesting stuff that's going on. You know, you always like to hope that the comic book industry is, you know, not dying and stuff like that. And,
Right.
you know, I think that there is potential for it to come back. I mean, we've been seeing some of it with at least some of Marvel and DC's books getting back to, you know, some numbers, you know, with Absolute Spider-Man, Absolute Batman.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, some people are still reading it and stuff like that. So there's hope. Obviously you don't want, you know, the comic books to go away because we love comic books. We love
Yeah,
the
exactly.
stories.
Yeah.
And so I think that yeah, we'll have to see what happens. I think it's definitely on, you know, the writers and these artists and more importantly, you know, these shop owners and stuff to make sure that if people come into your store, they feel welcomed and they feel
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that you care and that they should care as well.
And even if you don't have what they're looking for, I mean, find something that's similar to that.
Right.
So that way they can at least leave satisfied that they got there. They didn't go there for nothing, you know? Like, oh, I
Yeah.
wasted my time coming over here and this guy didn't even help me. And of course, customer service goes a long way. Like if you have great customer service, you're left feeling, you know, like, oh wow, that was really great. And you want to come back to give that person their business.
I
You
mean,
know, your
like
business.
me personally, I'm a huge guilty of suggestion selling. Like if somebody is like, there's like, you should
You
read
are.
this, okay?
Yeah.
It's
Will
like,
do.
will do. That's it. You know, it's literally that's all it takes. It's just like, here, look at this. Okay, I'll get it.
Awesome.
But you know, I'm sure there's other people like that as well. And so it's literally just as simple as just you being enthusiastic about the medium as well.
Yeah.
And that usually does rub off on people when you're talking to them because they can see that somebody else is excited about this. And if they get excited with it too, they at least have somebody that they know that they can
Yes.
talk to and that they can
Yes.
go and hang out with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Well, hopefully, you know, the industry is not geriatric, and then if it dies, then that's it. It's over. It's gone. And I don't want it
yeah.
to go the way of the dodo bird. I want it to keep on going and flourish, even in the age of technology. You know,
Right.
and the fact that that has survived this long is a testament to the power of the medium, which is what I always venerate, because um, it's another form of telling stories. And movies and TV shows are great, but comic books offer so much more in terms of how far we can push the boundaries of imagination if you just have the
Yeah.
right writer writing the right story and the artist involved in that story, producing that story for you. And there's countless examples of that even non-comic book readers who just read the book, just the one book, just because of that, you know, Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, that kind of thing. And that's what we all should, especially we all meaning creators, comic book creators. We should all strive for that. We all should strive for becoming the next Frank Millers and the Walt Simonsons and the Jack Kirby's and Stan Lees. Like we should always strive for that because those are the people who pretty much elevated the game. to where it's at now. And if we don't do that, then we pretty much deflate what was left to to us to continue on for the next generation. And so far, we've been failing the people who came before us, unfortunately.
Yeah. So.
Sorry to end the show. The segment
on a downer note, right
there. But that's the reality, man. We gotta face it. I'm a guy who's like, we gotta.
It's
face
hopeful.
it.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do better. All right.
Yeah, we gotta face it, and we gotta look at it and go, okay, how can we fix this? And that's always the best thing to do. But that's the end of that segment, huh?
One of the ways is potentially through crowdfunding and making your own comic book.
Exactly. So
put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, 100%. Now it's just a matter of figuring out how to combine the crowdfunding books and fulfillment with comic shops and see if we could find some kind of system, some kind of chain that we could funnel, we could like link up together. So that way individuals who, back a campaign, can help the creator produce their book, but at the same time get new readers who are not familiar with crowdfunding, right? But they'll always buy a book from the shop and maybe somehow cross-pollinate. But
maybe that's what Diamond should do when they restructure.
I mean, maybe. Hopefully they figure that out. But since you're speaking of crowdfunding, that brings us to our next segment, which is So, is it worth the pickup? Does Diamond fulfill orders to Barnes & Noble? Good question, Oli. I don't think so.
I'm sure they have their own distributor.
They probably do have their own distribution, but I'm not sure, honestly. But welcome to another edition of Is It Worth the Pickup? Kyle, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, we had mentioned that we are going to be continuing our Is It Worth the Pickups? We were originally going to do this last week. However, some of the backers did not receive their books on time. You had mentioned that they had just got them like the next day.
Yeah, the next day. We had done it. Crenshaw's book went all over the place. So Crenshaw, messaged me on X and told me, hey man, like something's going on with this package. Like I saw that, I checked the tracking number and I saw that it went to this distribution center in between California and Idaho, which is where he lives.
Yeah.
And then it ended up going to Austin, Texas. And then it went to like a different, it went like in a big old U, like an S, like a snake. And then it finally reached him today. Today he finally got it.
Oh, wow.
Dude, it was just like,
I don't know what's going on with all of this, because we've been having the same problem at work where packages have been just traveling. I guess they're on their own side quests. They want to go and see all of America before they come to the location.
Yeah, probably absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
But we're going to be talking about your other crowdfunding book that you created, which we talked about Vigilant Fury last time, but this time is Reset Protocol.
Now, for those who have backed it, and if you want to come on the show and join Kyle in reviewing the book, then you're more than welcome to come on and share your thoughts alongside him. He's gonna go through the review, and then he'll probably, if you're on the show with him or with us, he'll probably integrate you with the review, and I guess you guys can let me know if I did a good job writing the story or not.
Yeah. So I'll start off by saying that I'll give an overview of my thoughts first, and just generally what I thought with, and then we'll dive into the specifics. And kind of like before, I'll be asking you questions and seeing, and we'll talk through this book.
I'm a little nervous.
Overall, I'd say that this book was Meh. And I'm not
Oh.
being facetious here.
All right. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
there was. I mean, I'm sorry, man, but this one it
Don't
didn't do it for
apologize.
me. Um, Overall, I say that obviously the art by Andre Arullo, is that how you pronounce his name?
I don't know how to pronounce it. Even to this day, I don't know. Andre Araujo was probably,
Arahu,
yeah.
what? Excellent art was great.
Yes, of course.
Um, there was a few scenes or panels and stuff that was tricky. We'll get into that a little later. But well, stop going so fast, dude.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on, I'm still
Sorry.
talking here. All right. Yeah. Overall, I'd say it. The writing and the story perspective. While I understood what you were going for, and I think that there is a very interesting story here,
Mhm.
I don't think that the one shot. How many pages was this again?
This is
Uh,
52.
52 pages.
Mhm.
I think you needed a little bit more in order to really flesh this out. And then I think later on we'll talk about it. There's some things that I personally would have changed and edited about this story to condense it down and streamline it a little bit more. Um, but going into it, starting off, talk to us a little bit about how long have you been working on this book from conception to actual production?
I wrote this book back in 2011.
Oh wow.
So it was my first real attempt at writing a full-on story, and somewhat failed. If I'm being honest, because full disclosure, I didn't really write or develop this story. I thought, like in my delusion of grandeur as an amateur writer, that I could just simply make it up as I go along by laying out the panels, and that's what I did. I laid out the panels first,
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh yeah, I'll just write a story around these panels after the fact." And of course, when that did happen, it took about maybe 7 months to produce.
Yeah.
Because I was
Okay.
making up the pages as I went along. I didn't develop. I had the story in my head. The basic
Okay.
story was alien comes from space, um, lands on a futuristic city,
Yeah.
like an emerald city, observes it, discovers that it's rotten to the core, even though the outside is all shiny and bright.
All future and shiny and chrome.
Yeah, exactly. And then destroys it. A lesson learned, and then he takes off. That was the story in my head,
Okay. And I'd
in
say
the
that
broad stroke
perspective,
sense.
in that perspective, you accomplished that. I
Yes.
do understand that's
Yeah.
that aspect of it.
And so I did that, and again, I laid out the panels, and I was sending these panels to the artist, Harvey Pekar style. For those who do not know who Harvey Pekar is, he's the writer and creator of American Splendor, and that's what he did for a long time for his own comic book. And I thought, oh, if he could do that, I can do that too. But in reality, I was making the biggest mistake I can make as a writer, as a comic book writer at that.
Yeah.
And so Andre, total pro. I mean, this was his first book, his first actual comic book work before he
Right.
went on to Marvel to draw. I think he did Avengers AI after this. And then he went on to have this spectacular career in comics. And so he was gracious to just pretty much draw what I laid out. And after he was done, he of course bounced. He's like, "Oh, I'm done with the job. I'm going to move on." And I was stuck. I was stuck with these pages again. A rookie mistake. And I don't recommend it. If you're a writer, an aspiring writer listening to this show now or the replay, don't ever do this. Develop your story, outline it, iron it out,
Yeah.
because
Beginning to end.
you're gonna have headaches. And so when I when I produced it in 2012, it didn't feel complete for me.
Yeah.
And so I submitted to Comixology, and it was there for a while until they closed down, and they no longer exist. So this book is no longer on Comixology, if it even still exists. And so when I looked at this again in about 2023, I was like, there's a story here.
Yeah.
And I gotta flesh it out, and that's what I did. I try to flesh it out, and this is the outcome of that. So
Okay.
there's the story there.
Well, and I think, yeah, putting it into that context, I do see how, obviously, yeah, you said this is your first
Mm-hmm.
time
Yeah.
writing a book, like an actual story and getting into it. And so there's a lot of stuff that me reading comic books and stuff like that, me just like looking at comic books all the time, there's a bunch of stuff that I noticed that I'm like, okay, yeah, these are things that I see, fixed in other, major comic books. And here
Right.
there's pitfalls. And one of the things that, just starting off with these few panels, I liked the opening section panels where you starting off,
This one?
in space, yeah,
Yeah.
and then going down, and you get down to seeing the planet there with all the city.
Right.
I think though, uh, one of the things that I would have changed to begin with is I did not like cutting to the alien right after this panel. I think this should have been moved after you had already done the big splash page in the city. So you just kept on zooming in into
I
the
see.
city.
And then this, and then started with this.
And then start with that after, and then you cut back to him on the ship explaining things, and then get into the beam and come down.
Freddie says I wasn't able to finish this, and I kind of got like, yeah, it's all good, man. No worries. Okay.
So that's one of the things I would have changed. Just rearranging those panels. Overall, though, I think it would have been stronger if later in the issue we see the other native species escaping the planet and then get corralled back. I think maybe starting with that as the opening and then cutting into him coming down into the ship would have been a stronger opening, so that you would see, oh, something's already going wrong on this planet. And then we'll get into it. And then you get action right off the bat, because that was another one of the things that I didn't necessarily care for in this issue. Now, I'm not saying that it wasn't meant to be this way.
Right.
I'm just saying, me personally, I think that this book could have done with a little bit more action. Maybe some more escapes or more something happening within this issue or with this story to, I don't know, propel it a little bit more with the action.
Yeah.
But going along, we see that this alien comes down into the planet, and like I said, art is great. I think some of the dialogue was a little cheesy. And
Right.
like the I come in peace type of thing. It's like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like there's some cheesy dialogue that I did like in it. And so in this part, I do think it works. But there's some other dialogue that I didn't care for, which we'll get into when we get there. But yeah, we discovered that this is actually Atlantis, and this is a very different type of Atlantis. Now, why choose Atlantis as the main city that you wanted to have this be, the setting be?
Because of the ending.
Okay.
The ending of the story. Again, remember, I laid this out and I was stuck. I wrote myself to a wall, essentially what I did here, without
Yeah.
really thinking deeply as to what I wanted the story to be. So when I was rewriting this, because I had to rewrite a lot of it just to at least make the story make sense to the best of my ability, with the
Right.
limited resources I had. I thought the ending, if this is the ending, I told myself it has to be something that's connected to our human history. Be it, obviously there's no real proof that Atlantis ever existed on Earth, but the fact that Plato mentioned it in his writings, it's enough for people to leave up to their imagination. Like, well, if he mentioned it, that means he read about it or learned
Yeah.
about it, somewhere in some ancient library that's forever lost in time because of the destructions of the of ancient cities of our past. So that's the reason why I chose Atlantis.
Okay. I mean, and I'm not.
Yeah, I know, Freddie. That was on purpose, by the way. But go ahead, Kyle. Keep going.
I was just gonna say, I think I was pretty good. I liked like I said, the overall story of it. I did enjoy. I think that the ideas were there. I just think that the execution could have been a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that just overall that I noticed about this story is that with this main character here, um, I felt that he was being very like passive throughout
Yeah.
the whole issue.
Yeah, that was on purpose.
So yeah, I know, and I understand it's on purpose. But was there any different drafts that you made where he was a lot more active in the story, or
No,
was this always the way?
he was always supposed to be passive. I just imagine myself thinking, what would an objective observer, what does that look like? Like, how does that look like in a story like this? Because I'm thinking, okay, he's a heavenly creature, right?
Yeah,
He's above, he's in the grand scheme of things, right? He's part of a hierarchy that we're all part of, but you and I and our human eyes can't see this invisible hierarchy that exists in our plane, in our material plane, because there's a material and the immaterial plane, right?
yeah,
Heaven and earth, that kind of stuff. It's a hierarchy, right? So I kind of figured, okay, what would an objective observer look like? A pure objective observer look like that eventually does get involved once all the facts are gathered, once the truth is discovered.
yeah,
Like a judge, right? Like a judge is supposed to listen to both sides, right? And then weigh who's telling the truth and who isn't, and I'm going to judge according to the scales of the information, of the information I've been given throughout the trial.
okay,
You know.
yeah. And
So Ben,
hey
Hey,
Ben,
I'm here to defend your honor.
thank you, Ben.
I like the fact that it was Atlantis. I wish you had saved that reveal to the end.
yeah,
That was the only thing. Like, that would have been a better punch. Like, that's what this whole story was about. It was about Atlantis
Right.
and what happened to it.
It was that splash page, man. I couldn't leave that splash page,
Yeah.
empty. I guess it just didn't make sense to me. I mean, that would have. You're right. That would have been a more stronger. Like, whoa, this was Atlantis the whole time. Amazing,
Right.
But
yeah.
yeah, it was just, again, I wrote myself to a wall and had to figure out. I had to make sacrifices for this one, essentially.
Gotcha.
Well, and I mean, I did catch at the beginning that this was Earth at the beginning because in the beginning text it said that the orb was E3,
Yeah.
which was it's like third planet from the sun. So it's like I understood the references. So I guess
Damn. So I was still on the nose, huh?
I mean, did you catch that, Ben? When you
Yeah,
first
yeah,
read it?
I did.
Okay.
I did. And then he also mentioned Pangea later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, this is definitely Earth. And
yeah. So I mean, you get that aspect of it, like, okay, well, this is Earth, so why do these people look like this and not
Right.
like humans?
Right. Exactly.
So I mean, you get some intrigue there because it's like, okay, well, something has happened. But like kind of Ben said though, if we had just known it was Earth, not Atlantis, then that would probably given more intrigue because as soon as we know about that it's being Atlantis, I mean, we kind of already figure, okay, well, something's going to happen that wipes it away.
Right.
So I feel, yes, having it be Atlantis saved at the end would probably have been stronger because if it's Atlantis at the end, throughout the book, we could just think, okay, well, this was just aliens at the beginning that was just here and something happened with the aliens and instead of it just being Atlantis.
Okay.
Let's see. So we see that the seer is getting visions of what's to come. This panel here, this is the only art or not this panel and the next page, those 2 pages. This is the only time where I think the art didn't help it very much because I thought that this was a double page spread. And it wasn't. So I was reading it as a double page spread instead of 1 page and then the next page.
That was my mistake. Again, this is the amateur hour when I was writing this, and I didn't think. I wasn't thinking of page placement like I do now when I write my comic book scripts. So now when I write my comic book scripts, I always keep that in the forefront of my mind. Like, okay, this is going to be page 12, so I got to make sure that this page is, like this on this page, so that way it could all, match up when the reader turns the page. But back then I didn't even think about that back then.
Yeah.
And so, hindsight, this would have been a fantastic 2-page spread if I had thought of it. But I didn't. So again, I blame it on my inability to recognize it editorially as an amateur writer.
Okay. Well, and I mean, like, yeah, I'm not gonna fault you for that, as much because you didn't know, and it's like,
trust me, dude. If I had George Lucas money, this would have been the special edition. These 2 pages, I really wanted it to be a 2-page spread, so that's what I did for this one. That's what I did for this edition.
Yeah. Did you have the same sort of reaction when you read it, Ben? I saw you kind of nodding your head when I was talking about it.
Yeah, it was a little. I could see how you'd be confused by that, but I didn't have that problem. But I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. See, this section is what I was talking about of how you could have started with this at the beginning, them escaping, and then running into the seer, and then cut to the beginning with the. Okay, well, maybe like not so cliche of saying like, okay, how do we end up here? Let's go back 10 minutes or however long. It's something like that. This section here I did like because, and I think this was another part of the story where I think less narration and less dialogue could have helped because you can a lot of things were probably over explained and could have been left not so vague or left more vague up for the reader's interpretation.
Like, what are you talking about? This page, or what are you talking about?
I'm talking about this page was good because there was we see what's happening here. We don't need to be told also what's happening here. There's some other pages later on where we're told what's happening when we could just easily see it that's happening. And then we're getting close to where the new pages start, right? Yeah. So this is where the new pages. So I think that you did a good job in finding somebody that matched the art style pretty well.
Yes. Yes. Shout out to Dario because he freaking what a chameleon. What a chameleon this guy is, man.
Yeah, it was. I'd say that was definitely pretty good. There was this section did have a lot of exposition, but like you said, this was because you had to fill in a lot of plot holes.
This was the section that I failed to lay out
when I had Andre working with me. And for a lot of years, actually, there were a few times where I did reach out to him asking him, hey, is it possible you can draw like 6 pages? I just need 6 pages from you, to fill this hole here that I, again, didn't have the know-how to understand how to properly develop a comic book story, and he couldn't. Obviously, he was busy at that point, and his style had changed where he didn't really feel comfortable going back, which I understood. And I tried to sell him on the idea. I was like, well, it's a dream sequence, so you don't really need to go back to your like old style. You could do a new style with this one because it's a dream sequence, a flashback. But he still was like, I still can't do it. I'm way too busy, So I was like, okay, cool. So that's the reason why I took so long to re-release it, because I was kind of waiting either he be available, or if I could find someone who drew similar to his style. And then finally Dario was the one I was like, okay, when I saw his work in the Cryptnos, I was like, okay, this guy might be the guy that I've been looking for to help me draw these missing pages. And he did a phenomenal job too, man. So kudos to him.
I definitely give him credit for that, because the art does match up, even though then, like you said, even when the parts that aren't the same, you can explain away because it's a dream sequence.
Yeah.
So from that aspect, yes, I liked it, and I a lot of the questions, because as I read through books to like review, I tend to just like stop if I have a question and I write it down, and then hopefully it gets answered later on. So that way then I'm like, okay, I got an answer. So I cross that off, and it's like, okay, so they explained it. And there were questions that I had at the beginning when I was reading through it that did get answered when reading this section. So it accomplished the goal from that.
Good. I was hoping for that.
There was a few things that like I think earlier on they did call it Pangea. I don't know if it was just at the end, but earlier they did call it, but yet they still called it the orb, continuing on. Was there a reason why you just didn't consistently keep calling it Pangea or
I kind of I figured since they were trained by one of the aliens, the brother, the good brother, I feel like he probably wised them up as to where they were, what they were, what they are, where they are in the large scheme of things. They're in a floating orb in space. Like I figured that's kind of that's why I did that, because I was like, well, they would know that because they were trained and taught by this alien that if pretty much got stranded with them, in a lot of ways. So that's how I figured it, to why I did that.
Okay. And so then we see them using the powers, and there was a question that I had that I don't think necessarily got answered. I don't know if I guess I can ask it now, or I can wait till the end. One of the questions that I had was, so the seer goes to all these different planets, and if they don't give, if they fail, then he'll turn into the big thing. Okay, that's let me just finish. I know, just let me finish. Okay, he won't, but like these people will. They'll help turn him into that, and they'll wipe it clean and stuff like that. So does he have people that he imbues with these powers in every single planet that he goes to judge? Like, does he always go there early and like get them to have the power first, and then have them go and get it? And then when he goes and ready to get judged, then it's like like how much setup does he do in advance to get to that point?
No, this was a strictly one-off thing. That was the idea behind this whole story. It was a one-off, like a kind of like a one shot at this. We just have one shot at this kind of deal. I don't have a lore of this character. I never had no intention to develop this world. My intention was to write a parable, a sci-fi parable, and that's it. No more explorations with this character. There was never any idea or any thought of like, oh, I want to develop this world. No, and this was strictly just this story. So I can't answer that question as opposed to what he does on other planets, because I honestly never thought of it. I never developed it, never thought of it at all. But however, this whole setup thing is pretty much Elzrin, or Enlil, I mean, he essentially felt guilty for what his brother did to the sovereignty of this of the human race on this planet. Meaning he was there to just observe them, but his brother came in and pretty much disrupted their rightful place of pretty much becoming cosmic citizens, in other words. So he saw it as like he took over children, in other words, like, they're the cosmic children, and he pretty much took them over, and now it's my I guess responsibility to help them any way I can, because there's no way they could beat my brother's army. They're screwed, in other words. They're going to be enslaved forever, because they can never properly evolve or evolve into a higher thinking species.
Okay. And so then them getting in contact with the seer was by happenstance? And
no, they were trained. They were trained by Enlil to contact him once he arrived, because he knew if he found the truth as to what really happened there, then he would execute. He would pretty much activate the reset protocol.
Okay.
And cause it a level, and pretty much cause it to be leveled again.
Yeah.
Kyle's question was, if they fail on all the other planets he goes to, does he reset protocol all those too?
No,
and that's not what he does, right? This was a special case because he was murdered by
he knew that his brother was going to murder the seeker, the seeker. And he knew that if he died in that plane, in the Earth's plane, he wouldn't be resurrected. He wouldn't be. It's almost like he'd be his. What I mean by when I wrote what was the line I wrote here? It was it the orb regeneration cycle?
Yeah.
And there's another term I used. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think that's some of it too. It's like, you get a little technical with the with the explanations. That's like kind of goes over your head a little bit and trying to explain it.
The source code. The source code was a euphemism for the soul.
Oh.
And his soul would have been stuck in this idea that some philosophers believe that we have a the regeneration cycle where your soul is stuck here until you gain, you become a good person, essentially. Then you enter the heaven or whatever. Some philosophers believe that. And that was the idea I was toying with here in this story, is that if this guy, the seeker dies there, his soul is going to be stuck there, and he's never going to be this guy again. In other words. That makes sense? That makes sense or not? I'm not sure. You're kind of nodding at me like, yes.
Yeah. Ben seems to get
He's like,
yeah.
Maybe
Kyle, you should read it again. How about that?
I did read it again.
Yeah, how old are you, Kyle? Now.
Crenshaw says, it's a good thing I'm old and then don't care about spoilers. Flip through today and it looks great. This is making me really interested in reading this. Thank you, man. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. But go on, Kyle.
Okay, so all right, so continuing on, we get him back imprisoned, and he's talking with the
council.
What's the guy's name? Council. What's his name? I forgot what his name was.
Zeno.
Okay. And he's just like the chief, right hand man.
He's pretty much the number 2.
Yeah. And so then we get introduced to the brother. I thought, okay, so he's not the brother though. This the guy with the V hair. He's not the brother.
No.
Okay.
They're just hybrids of
Yeah.
what they created
Yeah.
to adapt to the Earth's atmosphere.
The guy with the
I
yellow
would've-
eyes is his brother.
Yeah. I would have preferred maybe that he was him the whole time. Like more like he like could shape
Oh,
shift
like
and
he
morph.
transferred his like soul or whatever to a new body.
That or he can just like shapeshift and he was just
Oh, that
being
would have
him
been that would have been
the
interesting.
whole time.
See, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that at all.
Because the way the panels were laid out, he says, let's go, no more tricks, and then he appears. So I thought that he was him the whole time, like he was morphed into him.
I see. Yeah,
Because there's no way that, like, they disappear and then he just shows up.
Yeah. That was a sacrifice I had to make upon rewriting this. There's 2 pages I cut out
Oh, okay.
in between this page and this page because they were out of place. It pretty much rendered them useless, in other words. And so I thought, well, I can't have these 2 pages here anymore because they're kind of, I hate to say it, but wasted pages, in other words.
Yeah.
Because it's like it was redundant, in other words. They meet up in the dark room that we saw them in earlier in the book.
Uh-huh.
And he pretty much he leaves and he goes here. So I'm like, I'll just have him appear. Screw it.
Okay. And so then this section is one where I think could have been reworked heavily, in my opinion. Because like you're talking about redundancy, I felt that this was a little redundant because we just saw from the new pages.
Yes.
This whole story played out, and that was the real story. So when we're seeing here, yeah, it's a fake story, but we already know the only thing that we get is him with the dad and then coming to the planet. That's the only thing new that we see.
Right.
But that was already told to us in the dream sequence.
So I think this was the execution on my part was obviously not done well. But essentially what's going on here is he's lying to him.
Yeah, I get that.
And he's extracting the memories from his own mind. That's what he's doing here in this 2-page spread.
Yeah.
So yeah, we see it again. You're right. Like we're seeing it
Yeah.
again, but now we're seeing it through his eyes.
Right.
Now we get to see what he actually did while he's lying through his teeth, saying
Yeah.
that, oh, I actually liberated them from my brother. He was the actual despot. I saved him. I did the great thing. My brother didn't. He's a slave owner or whatever the case may be. But the seeker is actually seeing the truth, going like, okay, this guy is full of it. So
Right.
now I can make my judgment. That's why he tells them in the dream, I have to talk to this guy first. I have to find this out first before I can even do the reset protocol. Because if he's telling me the truth, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna take off. Just gonna tell him, let me go and let you have it, and I'm gonna just take off because that's not my job.
Yeah, I guess from that perspective, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like I said, it makes sense. The story makes sense. I'm not like this. It's just there's
It's
like
the execution. It was just it was amateur hour on my part.
Yeah, I understand for the most part what's happening. It's just some of these things. I just think, in my personal opinion, that instead of just redoing what we just saw, and from his perspective, obviously, but like, I don't know, maybe using this to explain something else, or maybe I guess more go into his philosophy, the brother's philosophy of like, instead of just saying, okay, well, I wanted to, save his, lives. He's kind of saying that he's the hero in his story.
Yeah.
So I guess, from that perspective, it just felt to me when I was reading it that it was basically just going over what we already just read.
Yeah. No, I understand that.
So, Let's see. What other things was there? What page are we on? Okay, so we're seeing seeing the you know, the so whose perspective is this that we're seeing? Is it just the
The idea was that he's projecting this into the brother's mind, like he's making them see like the judgment.
so like almost like the penance stare of Ghost Rider? Like you're seeing
Kinda.
all the bad stuff that
Yeah, this is the
inflicted?
the judgment, the whole pretty much he's telling the whole story here. Like he's telling them, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what's gonna happen now. Now
Yeah.
that I have all the information I need, this is what's gonna go down, and this is what's going on here.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, and then this section, we get the reveal of the so now they all went there and they all did their little glowy dance.
Yeah.
And then became the electrical guy. So now
Yeah.
the seer, is he in there as well, or is he's separate?
No, that's him.
That is him.
That's him.
So he
yeah.
just got all the he got the power from them.
Yeah, it's up for interpretation for the reader.
Okay.
Actually, I kept that open for them to interpret it however way they want. But the idea is that they helped collect his source, his soul, in other words. And I was like thinking of the idea of like, what does soul power look like? That's a term in funk music, soul power,
Yeah.
And so I just thought, like, what would soul power look like if it was like weaponized, or if it was like straight up just like used as a pure energy? And since Atlantis supposedly, since it was destroyed in one day, supposedly it was a huge, powerful, explosion. But people think some people think it was probably the atomic bomb. Some people think it was like a godly, power, which is I can imagine a godly power just being, instant destruction, and that's it. And so that's what I was kind of toying with this segment here.
The only thing I could say is that I wish we got more of him like destroying stuff and like using the power.
Yeah.
I would have said the only thing I could think of off the like top of my head and writing my notes down is like a very generic way of doing that would be like, okay, they do their glowy dance, he makes the big guy, and they have to get to the core of Atlantis, which would have been like a big pillar or something like that
protected by Godzilla.
Yeah, protected by Godzilla. No, not by God.
Yeah, that would have been even cooler too.
That would have been cool. But like having him have to travel to, because they are already, all the dancers, they're like in the mountains off it, in the way from Atlantis.
They're in the outskirts of
so
Atlantis,
having him come to Atlantis and then having the brother like see what's happening and then have all the forces come out and they're all trying to stop him from coming, but there's nothing that's going to stop him from going. He's just destroying them.
That's if I had the budget for 10 more pages, Kyle.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, I'm just thinking out loud here, but then we get epilogue,
Mm-hmm.
where we see that he's back now. So he's not assigned to Earth, and the guys there reincarnated into all the other all these other guys, right?
Yeah, these are
the ones that were in the dream sequence.
Yes.
Okay.
And the idea is that they're immortal because of the them learning the cosmic art of alchemy as I described it in the book.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be the guardians of Earth, essentially. They're the ones who are, because history. I'm a big history buff, and I've read a lot of history where it involves sometimes whenever an ancient city falls, there's always been a remnant of people, philosophers or godly people, or prophets, or whatever case may be,
Yeah.
who always keep that knowledge, that wisdom that they had when their country was at their peak intact. And yeah, they lost their country because the nation fell, but they leave the nation and they rebuild based on all that knowledge and wisdom that they carried with them. And there's a theory amongst some researchers regarding Atlantis that when Atlantis did fall, Atlantis was an island, right? It was an island somewhere in the middle of some ocean. People think it's the Atlantic Ocean, but no one really knows.
Right.
And then surrounding it were the nations that we know today, right? The Americas, the modern day, Asia and Europe and Africa.
Yeah.
And supposedly a lot of Atlanteans, they traveled to those continents. So when Atlantis fell, they had no island to go back to, so they stayed in those continents and they kept that knowledge intact, which is supposedly the reason why there's pyramids in Aztec, Mexico, and there's pyramids in Egypt, there's pyramids in Asia. It's because supposedly those are the remnants of the Atlanteans that lost their island home. And so that was the idea here when I wrote this scene. I was like, okay, this is interesting to write this little scene here and kind of give a hint of that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's fine. I got that. And so they're supposed to be there, and then so is he gonna come back, or he already did the reset protocol? So
he did the reset protocol, and I kind of see it as like one of my favorite stories from EC Comics was that short story about, maybe Ben knows this one. It was about an astronaut who shows up to a planet full of robots, and the robots there's like, I think, brown robots and like silver robots or something like that. And the astronaut finds, he observing them because they want to be, they want to join the Galactic Federation. He finds out that they discriminate, that the brown robots or something like that discriminate against the silver robots. And then they fail the test, and the astronaut takes off, and then it's revealed in the end that the astronaut was a black man, because it was written during the time of the civil rights, and so it was a big, impactful story. So I like that idea of yeah, what if it's the same? Like, I just take that idea where he's just there to observe, to see if they qualify to join the Galactic Federation, since they sent out the signal saying that they're ready to join it.
yeah,
But of course, he finds out that they were, but the bad guy was using it as a backdoor to get more power.
right.
So, which comic is this? Are you talking about the one he's reviewing, Comic Journey, or are you talking about the one that I just talked about, the EC Comics?
Reset Protocol, that's what it is.
Yeah, Reset Protocol is the one that we're reviewing. The other one is a short story from EC Comics. But so yeah, that's pretty much the idea for this one. Is like, yeah, he'll come back. He's gonna come back, but he's gonna come back in a different, like
Time zone.
when the Earth is ready to join a Galactic Federation, because the human race has reached the level of cosmic maturity, whatever you want to call it.
And these guys are gonna be there
And those guys are gonna be there, and they're gonna hope. He's hoping they can do the job to help him get there.
Okay. And then it just let's see. Then he's back on his ship, and then we get your little. Then we get the
reveal,
ending
that's
dialogue. So yeah. Ben, did you have anything that you wanted to add or go back to that I may have talked about or missed?
Comic Journey. I caught you describing the other one while looking at this one. I was completely lost.
Oh no.
My bad, Comic Journey. My bad.
It's like, what's going on? What pages are you looking at? You know,
What is this? Oh, no, I didn't see no black dude here.
What robots? I'm not seeing any robots.
I'm seeing brown robots. No, I really like this, Julius. But I'm a Star Trek fan, and so I don't need the action. Like having the moral dilemma be the drama of the story. Like I'm used to that. So I don't need the action here. Like just having that moral drama going on was enough to keep me captivated. And of course,
Oh,
the
good,
artwork is
good.
beautiful.
Yeah, the artwork is. I mean, yeah, nothing compares to the artwork, man. Like, and I was happy that I found Andre, because I really did want someone who drew like Mobius to draw the story.
Yeah, he
That
did a
was
great
one.
job.
Yeah, that was my main goal. It's like I have to find someone who draws like Mobius, or else the story is not going to work. And
And
so,
I think, yeah, I definitely think that that helps
oh,
a ton.
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me, man? Yeah, it helped tremendously. It's just that I wasn't ready yet as a writer.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have, anyone help me. I didn't have anyone guide me. I didn't know where to look in terms of like editing. I was just new kid, right? Who just wanted to produce a comic book because I love comic books. I love making comic books. And the fact that I found this guy was even better, because I thought, oh, great. I finally, I'm going to get to work with a great artist, he's not even discovered yet. And I
Right.
found him, this is going to
Right.
be great. And I totally mismanaged this whole project. But I learned from it. This is my biggest, this is the biggest challenge I had. And I'm glad that I went through the fire to learn all my mistakes from this project.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for this project, I wouldn't be the writer that I am today. Now I'm a lot more disciplined. I'm a lot more focused on what I want and what to expect. And this was the first book that actually made me realize that, okay, I have a good eye to know which artists can fit what story I want to tell. And that's important for a comic book writer. If you don't have that, if you don't develop that, I should say, then you're going to keep choosing the wrong artist, drawing the kind of stories you want to tell. And that's going to hurt you in the long run, because, when you have, you're not going to hire Tom McFarlane to draw Smurfs, right? A Smurfs comic.
Right.
You're going to hire someone who draws a bit more cartoony to draw a Smurfs comic, because that's what you want to sell, that product.
Well, and yeah, exactly. Like having him draw this, and then whoever was the colorist, who was the colorist?
The colors for this was Catherine Tonison. Again, she was a fresh graduate from art school, 18 years old. I tried out, I think, about 4 colorists for this, and she was the one that captured exactly what I wanted.
Right.
This, and she was new. She was 18. She was a kid, dude. It was crazy. I was like, wow, you're amazing. Like, I can't believe you color like this. And Andre wasn't a fan of the colors, but I was like, look, man, like it's talking to me. Like I'm feeling this. Yeah. And she did a great job for her first job doing this. So I don't know what she's up to now. I don't think she ever pursued comics. I think this is just like I put up the ad and she was like, well, I just got out of school. I need money. And
right.
And I paid her, and she was like, oh, he's paying me, sweet. It's a great gig. And so I thought she did a great job, honestly.
Yeah, she did.
With the colors. Yeah.
The
dream sequence though was colored by, Julio, perdóname por favor. I forgot to credit him, but it's Julio Falkenhagen who colored the pages, and Oli helped me color the Seeker. He colored the Seeker. He and I worked together to get him to look like this.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't look like this before. He looked way different before. And so Oli was, he helped me, like, he really worked with me to get him to look like this, and it was perfect. I was like, yeah, this is exactly how I want him to look, like this.
Yeah.
But but Julio colored these pages, and he did a fantastic job with these pages.
Yeah.
So when I rework it again, I'm going to obviously give him the credit, because it was already too late when I got the books, and I was like, where's Julio? I was like, oh, dude, I can't believe I forgot to put Julio's name on this thing. So
these 2 panels right here are probably the only panels I thought were too dark when they printed. Scroll down when they're escaping.
Oh, right here. This.
Go down.
Down.
It's the night when they're outside.
Oh, okay. Yeah, these right here. Yeah.
That panel and that last panel, that page right above it.
Oh, right. This one.
Yeah, because in the print version, it looks clearer here digitally, but the print version that came out really dark, and you can barely see them running away.
I noticed that, and that's my fault because I did tell Julio, I say, oh well, there's no moonlight in this scene, and this is the way he colored it, and again, in digitally, I was like, oh, this looks great, but then when I saw the print, I was like, oh crap, like it didn't come out.
Yeah.
It didn't come out good in the print. This was on Kickstarter, Comic Journey, but it already closed and I fulfilled it. But I will be doing a second chance, so you can just follow me on X for updates, or you can subscribe to the channel, and I'll make an announcement when I'm ready to do the second chance for this one. Anything else? Any other questions or thoughts?
No, there's some stuff with dialogue that felt, and I think I mentioned to you, Julius, on messages, where like the council people are talking and it goes from sounding sophisticated to sounding casual.
Yeah.
So like I said, I think just doing another pass over that to tighten that up would have helped. There's also a scene where, and I think it's the brother talking to the council people, and he's telling them like, I had my searchers search the ship when he wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no weapons on there now. And I was confused, like, when did he leave the ship? Because this is before he descends down to the planet.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And so that didn't make any sense.
That's why I was that's why I was kind of like what I was talking about was like maybe switching some of the order around of like, doing the.
Yeah. Again, that was because I brought myself to a wall, right? I didn't think of it, and so I had to find a way to edge it in the dialogue somewhere.
Right. I think just reworking that to just saying like, we scanned the ship, there's no weapons on there. Like,
there you go.
Yeah,
okay,
suffice.
There you go. Which I probably will do in the the second chance. I'll probably we work this a bit more, so that way, I could probably, I don't know. I'm like 50-50 on whether or not I want to submit this to a publisher or rather just keep it for myself and just keep, just do it like just hold on to it and just publish it whenever I want to publish it or republish it.
I think it's a good portfolio piece,
for sure. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. But yeah, like I'm still proud of it because like I said, it was my first time actually putting myself out there, even though I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Right.
And it was a trial by fire for sure. And that's the best way I learned. I got to just jump in and learn how to swim or else I'm going to sink. Right. Yeah. So I had done a bunch of short stories. I had produced, short stories here and there, kind of get used to the production process of making comic books. And then once I did enough, I was like, okay, I want to do a long one now. I want to do like a 40 page, 50 pages,
Mm-hmm.
Fire trials do get hot, Eric. That's for sure. You have to tell me, man. This was definitely one of those things where I wish I would have done this as I matured and not have this be my first, book.
Yeah.
Because this is definitely the subject matter is pretty deep, and that's what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to be deep, And so I thought, okay, maybe this was something I should have put in my back pocket and then develop it over the years and then produce it. At my age.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, when you're young, you don't think, you just want to do, get it out. And so it's a love-hate thing with this one, but I'm glad that I got it out. I'm glad that I produced it. I'm glad that I could say, with a straight face, I worked with Andrea Rojo. Who else can say that? And not only that, it wasn't like I got him because the publisher put us together. We discovered each other. I sought him out and I found him and I was like, dude, this guy's exactly what I'm looking for, and it worked out beautifully.
No, and I think, like I said,
is that Oli without his glasses?
I wish I had my sunglasses. I put them on right now.
Sunglasses, man.
I'm just a couple of shades lighter.
Sometimes in Amazon versions, people can get a copy. Oh yeah, that's right. I keep forgetting about Amazon. Amazon's definitely an option. Yeah, for sure. I know you mentioned that last time, Ben, about using Amazon and doing all. So yeah, that's definitely on the table. Comic Journey. But yeah, I'm glad I did. I'm glad you got you guys backed it and you guys read it, and I'm glad that you're here letting me know what worked and what didn't work for you. Same thing with you, Kyle. So yeah, any more thoughts?
I think just generally speaking, the story is there. Obviously the art is phenomenal. Personally, for me, there was things that I could have, changed or reworked or didn't really flow for me. Ben, you said that maybe it's because to be fair, I'm not a Trekkie, so I don't know all the high conceptual. I am a lot more action based. I'm like Star Wars. I want to see the guns blasting and stuff happening. So I think from that perspective, it's not necessarily for me, but sometimes it doesn't have to be necessarily for me. People like Ben can enjoy it perfectly fine.
That's right. And I did enjoy it. It was a great moral story.
Right. So, everybody has their own likes and dislikes in stories. And I think that if you want to pick it up, I would not hinder you in picking it up, because definitely at least pick it up for the art, because I will say that the art is fantastic in the story.
So, moment of truth.
But for me personally, I would say that it's not necessarily worth the pickup for me, because it's it just didn't do it for me.
Betrayal.
But I know. Well, I'm giving my honest opinion here. However,
well, let me take over and say I think it is worth the pickup.
I know. Just drop me. I actually thought you were just gonna leave me out.
I could take it.
Yeah.
But go on, Kyle.
But like I said,
it was nice knowing you, Kyle.
I know. This is now Julius's show.
Friendship over.
Yeah, friendship over, buddy.
I'm never gonna be here again. I've now been banned.
And that was the last episode of
Shadow
Worth the Pickup.
I'll also be expecting a termination at work, because you are my boss at our day job.
Thank you, commentary. Yeah, I'll definitely keep you posted if I ever do decide to go down the Amazon route, because you're right, it is like the best option. But go ahead, Kyle. Finish your thought.
Like I said, I'm not the end all be all with all the with opinions and recommendations. Obviously, if you think it's interesting and you want to go and read it, by all means, go out and read it. And I'm sure you'll like it. I mean, Ben says that he likes it. So everybody's got their own opinions. And so if you want to, go check it out. Definitely check it out. Like Julius said, he's going to do a second chance campaign eventually down the line, and then possibly the Amazon shipping. But
hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
But that's my honest review of is it worth the pickup for Reset Protocol.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's again, that's what I just want. I just want honest feedback. And this one is an interesting piece again, because I wrote this in 2011. I was just like no idea what I was doing. And so when I reworked it, I didn't want to change all of it, because most of it I liked what I wrote. And so I just had to, write it with my 40-year-old mind, as opposed to my, 2011, I must have been in my early 20s, maybe. I can't even remember. This was so long ago. And so writing it during that time, I wasn't ready yet, but I was eager. which
Yeah.
sometimes is a more important to do at that point. Just learn and just deal with it, and as you go along.
Well,
And I'm glad I did.
you're not gonna grow unless you actually try and you actually,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, back then there was no, YouTube and Twitter. I mean, I think Twitter was around, but it was new. So there's no way for me to know the feedback. When I had it on Comixology, but there wasn't really like a community there to really let you know, hey, I downloaded your book. This is really good, or I didn't really like it. Here's why. And that's the hard part about indie creators, is that we don't get too much feedback because there's a lot of hindrance there because of social media, right? You get to know someone socially and you like them and you don't want to insult them by saying, I bought your book, but yeah, ouch, man, that was a tough read. So, and of course you get offended and all that, but for me it's like, okay, why was it a tough read? What did I do wrong here? Did I overwrite it? Did I bog you down with the narration? What was it? Let me know. Tell me.
It was bad.
Yeah. Comic Journey. I have another one called Vigilant Fury, and I have another one after that, which is currently working on the horror comic called The Last Thanksgiving, which is we're almost done with that. And I'm working on Ghetto Dragon, getting that one done. So there's a few I have in the pipeline. So again, just follow me on X, and you should connect more with creators. Yeah, I don't know where to find them. And I do know how to find them. I just don't have the time to like look for them and join them and stuff, because I got other stuff that going on. But going back to the point in hand, thank you for reading it, Kyle. Thank you for backing it. Same thing with you, Ben, and giving me your feedback, because it is appreciated. And I think if more indie creators will just not so thin-skinned, we could flourish as a community, and get better and actually compete with the quote unquote professionals, and show readers that we're just as capable as the people who get published by Marvel and DC or Image.
Well, and I think that's the key thing right there, is that there's already people in indie creators that are as good or better than what's already in Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
So I think that they're out there. You can, you just got to go and find them.
Absolutely. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Reset Protocol, according to Kyle, is not worth the pickup.
Yeah. For me.
Yeah, for him. But you know what? That's fair.
I think it's worth the pickup.
Okay,
And
thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Says it's worth the pick.
Thank you.
I will counter Kyle's vote.
But you know what?
You just couldn't have me on and give my opinion.
Let me finish my thought. It's all fair. Okay. It's all fair game, because you bought the book.
Yeah.
You bought the book. So did you, Ben, and everyone else out there who purchases it. I'm a believer that when you buy the book, you have a right to say whether you liked it or not. And you spend money on me, and that's appreciated, because that's what we all want as comic book creators, is to make a living producing our books and selling our books. And on top of that, hearing from readers and digesting what's said to us, so that way we can really like objectively look at our own work and our own skill set, and rearrange and work on it, and go, okay, yeah, I do know. Actually, now that you mention it, I do notice that I do tend to overwrite, or I do tend to be like, as Ben says, not be consistent with the dialogue. On one page they're formal, and on another page they're kind of talking, like normal people, and that kind of threw me off, that kind of deal. Yeah. So now I'm going to look at that more whenever I write anything new. It's like, okay, does this character talk like this throughout the whole story, and so on and so forth. So I'm all about the reviews and critiques. And I think that's needed, especially like I say, if we want to mature into better creators. So thank you for the critique and the review.
Yeah. You're welcome. It was bad.
Comic Journey says, next time I do an Insomniac comic book theater hop on, I bring on writers and artists on all the time. Good place to connect. Hey, cool. Yeah, man. Like, do you have a YouTube channel, Comic Journey? Because if you do, I'll sub to your channel and check you out.
Yeah.
But again, if you're on X, follow me on X, on Instagram. You can follow
with
me on
me.
Elucid PRD, and that way we could link up there if you like. I'm all about connecting, just like you, and networking, and getting myself out there so that people can know more about my work and all the people's work too, because I like to venerate other people's work that I feel deserves the eyes. So,
and that's what we do on this show. That's what the whole point
Absolutely.
of this show is about. Is
Absolutely.
to get this community connected, and we talk about each other's books. We talk about comic books. Talk about what the industry is doing. We talk about comic creators and publishers and all that in between. And we want to cultivate this community that we
Yeah,
have.
absolutely.
And with no biases, no, just pure dialogue, like you said in the intro, just pure dialogue between people.
Yeah.
And we'll hopefully can continue that. I mean, we're gonna keep on doing more videos, more live streams as much as we can. We're still gonna be reading comic books, still gonna be creating comic books. So fun never ends, does it?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't forget to sub, hit the like, comment,
Yes.
Share the video as well, so that more people can learn about our channel.
Look at
And
that.
yeah,
You
let's,
actually
like-
remembered to say it.
I know. Now I remembered.
Yeah.
So like Kyle said, and also in the intro of the video, yeah, we're all about dialogue here, and we're all about people standing their ground too. If you like something, stand on that ground. Don't back off and let people intimidate you. If you think The Last Jedi is great, say it's great. Who cares?
It's not.
You'd be wrong, but yeah, you can say it.
Say it all you want. You're wrong.
It's still a dumpster fire. I mean, that's fine, but
Right.
it's still a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
You're still wrong.
You're still wrong. Everything about you is wrong. Everything,
Yeah.
You have poor taste and and judgment.
So join us, and we want this community to grow, and we're always open to interview creators as well. Ben's been on the show before. He's been on the hot seat for his own book, and we read his book, and it's worth the pickup, and it was recommended because it was a great book. We have other creators also on here who joined us in the conversation of the topic. So we're ready to grow. We're ready to go out and spread our wings.
And
I'll be sure to let you know my thoughts once I read it, probably in a short video. Yeah, dude. Whenever,
cool.
Just let me know. And I'll make sure to share the video. I'll make sure to share it on my X account and let people know that you read it and you have your thoughts on what you think if it was good or bad. But with that said, we did go over, Kyle. Wow.
No.
Like we went
a lot
over.
to talk about.
Yeah. But this definitely was a great episode. Again, watch the replay. It's about whether or not the industry is geriatric, if the books being sold these days are for old people and not for kids. So it was an interesting conversation. But Ben, Kyle, you have any last things to say before we call it a night?
Just to continue to build those experiences, and keep on reading comics.
That's right.
Read those books.
Read those books.
All right. Well, but that's it. Have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. And like Kyle and Ben says, read more comics.
All
Peace.
Right. Bye, guys.
See ya.